What if the monster you battle weren't born of malice, but molded from the mud of missed miracles? A child's cry unanswered by caped saviors, echoing the forsaken orphans of Dickensian dens or the forsaken youths in Weimar's weary streets, where one unheeded plea could twist tenderness into terror, forcing you to face not just the fiend, but the fractured fable of fairness you once fabled. Inhale the stale stench of smoke-choked alleys thick with the residue of regret and ramen's reluctant warmth. Taste the acrid afterbite of ale on your tongue like ashes from a childhood hearth gone cold. Feel the phantom flinch of a father's final farewell rippling through your ribs, as if the abandonment were your own, while shadows of shocker slither like serpents from a shattered screen. This is the haunting heresy of Tojima Wants to be a Kamen Rider's Episode 7, Let Me Join Shocker, which unmasked on November 15, 2025, delving into the idol arc's introspective abyss, where Tanzaburo Tojima's midlife masquerade as masked Marvel collides with the cruel calculus of corrupted childhoods. Shocker schemes now a siren song seducing the scorned. It grips from the gauntlet's grim grasp, a whirlwind of whimsy warped by woe that dangles the dawn of disillusionment without delivering its dusk, teasing the threshold of tragedy. Have you ever peered into a villain's visor, reflections rippling like rain on a ruined rooftop, heart hammering against the helm of half-remembered hurts, wondering if embracing the enemy echoes empowerment or merely the echo of emptiness? The episode embodies that evocation, its embers flickering just beyond the fray, suspense a subtle snare around your sentiments, curiosity the compulsive cadence of concealed crises, drawing you deeper into the den where one more morph might manifest not just might, but the mayhem you've mirrored in Midnight Musings and the wake of Episode 6's Barroom Brawl, where Tojima's troupe tangled with titanic terrors amid toasts turned tumultuous, their amateur ardor a tenuous tether against Shocker's surging shadows. This chapter decants the drama into a dive of despair, Nakao's narrative nexus unfolding like Nero's fiddle amid Rome's roaring flames, each revelation a requiem for the remnants of resolve. From playground parodies to perilous pacts, the antagonist's arc arches like an archer's arrow in Agincourt's arc, pulling the protagonists into a poignant parley that probes the past's pernicious pull. Heartfelt hurrahs herald hesitant harmonies, Yakuza undercurrents underscoring the underworld's unseen upswell, bridging the bar's bonfire of bonds to broader battlements. Cliffhangers chill a colossal creeper cresting in the closing shadows. You can almost hear the harmonious hum of henshin echoes harmonizing with heartfelt laments, smell the savory sizzle of snacks searing over shared sorrows. Doesn't it needle at you, that nexus of nostalgia and nemesis, urging you to pull up a stool and sip the saga before the bar tab tallies to tragedy? Episode 7 propels the narrative with the potency of a poisoned pint, advancing Tojima's tokusatsu-tainted travail from fervent fray to fermented fellowship turned fraught, where Nakao's backstory unveils his shocker sympathy as a linchpin legacy, a revelation that ratchets the reverence from idle imitation to insidious infiltration. The dive bar debrief a twist that tantalizes the idol arc's escalation into existential enmity, faithful to manga chapter 9, The Saloon Solace, wherein the sibling soliloquy sutures not just scars, but the series' satirical skewer of superfandom's self-sabotage. Revelations cascade, Nakao's transformation from neglected nestling to nefarious nest builder, a pivotal pivot that plunges toward chapter 10's Yakuza yarn, culminating in a cliffhanger of colossal confrontation that crests without crashing. Pacing masters a measured mead, languid in the libation's lingering levity, akin to the reflective respites before the OK Corral's crackle and tombstone, explosive in the ensuing entanglement that escalates without exhaustion, dramatic equipoise, exquisite equilibrium interweaving introspections itch with incursion's ire. Fans flag cloudy aspects, Nakao's mid-battle monologue amid mayhem, the mind controls murky mechanics, or his future faction's foggy fate, but manga chapters 9 to 11 demystifies. Nakao's narrative nudge echoes Shibata's deliberate deference to Kamen Rider's Kaijin Confessions, as unpacked in the manga's afterword on Tokusatsu Tempo, a thematic tether to Toei's trope of talkative takedowns. The controls calculus, per chapter 10's panel pyrotechnics, leverages lore's heart henshin heuristic, negating neural nets via narrative necessity, not Deus Ex, but deliberate deconstruction of despair. Nakao's nebulous next, drawn from Ishimori's input on shocker schematics, echoed in Volume 2's appendices, enriches the anime with the manga's metamusings on monster motifs, beckoning back to the book's blueprint for the fanboy fracture that fractures fandom into fervent faith. Tojima doesn't merely toast, he transmutes, his psyche a palimpsest pricked by peril's poignant prickle, wounds from wistful worship fostering a fierce fidelity that's transformative in its tenacity, choices to champion the chaos consistent with his dreamer dogma yet surprising in selfless synergy, motivations mutating from myopic mimicry to mosaic martyrdom, a mosaic of the man who mused on masks now manifesting as mentor amid the melee. Yukarisu, the managerial mainstay, deepens from comic dynamic conduit to cathartic core, his hidden hesitations, fueled by forgotten fancies. Yielding to yearning's quake, the proposal a pivotal pivot that humanizes the humorist, dialogues dripping with dawning devotion that surprise with synaptic shatter. Nakao, the shocker sympathizer, blooms from backdrop to beacon of brokenness, his sibling scars propelling a paternal plea that's equal parts prowess and penance, consistent with his concealed competence yet transformative in tender tenacity. Heroism here is the helmet's hollow hymn. Tojima's takedown a labyrinthine lesson in power's protean play. Does emulating idols elevate the everyman, or erode the essence, manifesting in Yukarisu's love-laced liberation as a grotesque gospel of getters? Grace, hope haunts the hazardous harbor of half-forged heroes, survival stratagem dueling sacrifices spectral snare in the melee's manic maw, evident in Nakao's mid-fight manifesto, a Camus confrontation with the absurd evoking the Colosseum's cries in Gladiator's gladiatorial gospels, where despair's dragnet yields to love's latent light, much like dissidents' defiant declarations in Dunkirk's desperate dunes. Probing. In a world where worship warps the worshipper, can one henshin heal the heart, or merely heighten the havoc? Shocker schematics and Riderman's relics layer the lore with luminous legacy, introducing lore accuracy edicts, cultural covenants capping cosplay's creed, per manga's Chapter 9 interludes on tokusatsu tenets, that complicate the cosmos with conspiratorial cleavages, enriching the ether with ethical entanglements while Tokyo's tokusatsu-tainted terrain teases transnational treacheries, transmuting the tapestry from trope-trod terrain to textured tableau ware. Idols inspire as insidiously as imperial icons, the script strikes with shuriken sharpness. Taut, torrid, its poetry in the profane paeans where order some snacks lands like a loaded lance's lethal lunge, lines like Yukarisu's proposal carrying the cathartic cry of Romeo and Juliet's balcony ballad flipped to battleground, foreshadowing floods of fallout while reverberating in the Endrol's embers like an elegy's exhale. Impactful, impervious to parody's pitfalls, even Tojima's trembled taunts arrive with tokusatsu tenacity, evoking the elliptical exhortations of Akira's apocalyptic asides, each exclamation a ember embedded. I harbored Nakao's narrative nudges, their yank a yoke on my yoke. Tell me, dreamer, when did a villain's veiled vow last mirror the unspoken covenants in your own counsels, compelling you to rewind, to reclaim the resonance before it fades? Art direction deploys dusk's destructive dyes, scarlet spatter searing against Shocker's obsidian opulence, lighting lacerating limbs in lurid limelight that opposes the club's collapsing chiaroscuro, shadows surging like suppressed sympathies in stasis that shatters to skirmish's spasm, fluidity in Riderman's riffs a frenzy of fortitude forged in fire. Beauty burns as bittersweet, symbolism searing sorrow's sacrament where crimson's cascade consecrates the cruel, cinematography consorts with the conflagration. Dutch dives into the duel's delirium heighten honor's hallucinatory haze, compositions cramming confessions in claustrophobic clutches akin to Kamen Rider's classic cuts. Editing's escalation a euphoric eruption, lingering low angles lulling into lightning lashes that lash back with your own adrenaline. Tension taut as tempered steel, your senses singed by the spectacle it singed me. This salvo, a searing seepage of solidarity and severance, fealty's fever flaring with the fervent phrase I've fathomed in my own fractious fellowships, wonder whipped in the wired warmth like wildfire after winter's wane. Moments maul indelibly, that cataclysm of camaraderie and catastrophe, a rupture where regimens rend the realm, realigning rivalries into requiems redemptive, raw as the reckoning in a Ronin's reign when rain washes not wounds, but the why of the wield. It invokes immutable interrogations, allegiance's alchemical ache, as in the last samurai's Bushido burdens, lingering like litanies. In igniting the intimate inferno, do we illuminate the ideal, or incinerate the inheritance? You palp, it's no nominal narrative, it's necromancy, notching with notions that nestle in your night's hush, necessitating the next frame until the fervor forges you afresh. Let me join Shocker blazes in bold brilliance, narrative nerve navigating the nebulous, aesthetics animating the arson, ephemeral embers eclipsed by a script that summons spirits, infirmity's faint flickers in the firmament. It incarnates the chronicle's creed, not perfunctory punctures, but the pilgrimage through the pyres we populate, where dreamers eclipse despairs not in nullification, but in the humane heresy of honoring the haunt. I intuit infernos intensifying in idol's ides anon, yet evoke this, evocateur, as the screen's sable scorches and that ultimate upsurge undulates unyielding. Will you quench the coral's query, or embrace the ember that's been etching your ethos since the enmity first inflamed? The blaze beckons, your baptism begins with the breath.